Welcome in, everyone, on this Thursday evening, 8:05, and we're taking a look at our broader SkyTrack network. And this is our camera observing a quiet Thursday night for folks coming back from work or wherever it is they are and heading around Bardstown. So good to check in there and hope everyone's had an okay Thursday night as we get a little closer to the weekend here in the Wave Now studio. I'm Jose Sosaya. We're going to dive right into our top stories, which, of course, this continuing coverage and now, the aftermath of, first and foremost, of the UPS deadly plane crash. And to that effect, new details that we want to share with you tonight regarding some legal action that's being filed, because now we've confirmed there are more names being added to a lawsuit through the week. In fact, just yesterday when we were able to share with you, all the victims have been accounted for. All 14 of their names released Wednesday. Two law firms with offices here in the Louisville Metro announcing that they're going to seek damages on behalf of their plaintiffs from UPS following what happened with Flight 2976. One of those firms being Morgan & Morgan, saying they filed a class action suit on behalf of 3 plaintiffs and others who they say may be potentially impacted by just the fallout physically of the crash. Well, today the attorneys confirmed 60 or more people have been added to the lawsuit. They're expecting that number to actually grow over the next days and potentially weeks. Their lawsuit includes folks impacted by the crash, 2 properties damaged as a result of the explosion and the wreck. An attorney from Morgan & Morgan did share a statement regarding the updated lawsuit, and this is a quote we're going to play here, a graphic for you so you can read it. But in essence, Tanner Schultz, attorney from Morgan & Morgan, saying, quote, "It's hard to describe just how devastating this incident has been on this community, and we're working to uncover the details of how this happened and secure justice for all those impacted," end quote. So the second of those 2 firms that I mentioned not too long ago in the same update is Whiteford, Taylor, and Preston. And then Peterson Law, another firm, they've also announced that they're representing their own pool of several Kentucky families of both those who have been injured and representing some who have since passed away, perhaps immediately or not long after the crash happened. In our continuing coverage, of course, Metro leaders, we know, opened a community resource center today that's not too far physically from UPS Worldport. To that effect, Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia Franceschini went to visit the center on its first official day out there to serve the community in their own capacity. This is Fernando's report.
Do you need access to transportation?
It's been a busy day for those taking calls at the community resource phone line, like Jackie Marshall.
You're trying your best to help because, it's crying, it's screaming, it's hollering.
Jackie has been working as a customer service specialist for 18 years.
Yes, ma'am. That'll be fine.
She says this past week has been like no other.
I keep myself composed. I've even had to cry on the phone a few times with people. It's just that in-depth in here.
But Jackie says she's grateful she gets to connect those impacted to the resources they need, and that now includes a community resource center. The center combines several victim services, including 7 counties, a local organization providing mental and behavioral health help.
It's important to know that asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength, and help can come in different forms, look differently for different people.
7 counties also manages the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Jean Romano says they've gotten more calls to that hotline since the plane crash.
Stress of what's going to happen next. Many people whose jobs have been affected, their routines have been affected. Some individuals who are not able to connect with their coworkers because maybe their place of employment is shut down or they're relocating.
And groups helping out at the resource center are hoping they can provide relief to that stress and anxiety, all of them coming together in community.
We're here, we're part of the community. We want to make sure our residents are supported.
That was Fernando's report, and he also learned the Resource Center also has some help available for folks who Spanish is their primary language. The staff and the officials involved say they don't want language to be a barrier to connect people to the help they might need. You can always reach out to the Community Resource phone hotline. That number on your screen right now, we'll keep repeating it over the course of, the days and weeks ahead. Always available for you on the website, wave3.com. But just as the first time you're taking a look at it, it is that number at the very top, 502-473-5271. The hotline takes calls from 7 in the morning to 9 p.m. So they're technically still open for tonight, and they will have someone there to take the call Monday through Saturday. There is also now an email that you can reach out to, and it's that address you see in the graphic. It's UPS, the letter U, the letter P, the letter S, 2976 at McLaren's, MCLARENS.com. Staff, city leaders, officials say they want to hear from anyone who's been impacted and to what degree they have been. Those details, again, much more in our full compendium of reporting that you'll find on wave3.com. Going to switch to more stories we've been following over the course of the week, namely of this man from Texas who we learned in indictments and court documents he's accused of threatening U of L football coach Jeff Brom. Well, he was released from jail after his father posted a $100,000 bond. Wave troubleshooters learned Brian Mandel was released from jail this morning after the bond was posted. Mandel turned himself in 2 days ago after a Jefferson County grand jury indicted him on charges of terroristic threatening and extortion. That is for threats he's accused of making to U of L football coach Jeff Brom, to his family, to offensive coordinator and Jeff Brom's brother Brian Brom, and also to quarterback Miller Moss over the weekend following the game against California. Mandel's bond conditions do ban him from gambling, drinking alcohol, or contacting any of the specific victims in the case. He has since pleaded not guilty to this 7-count indictment. Coming back here in the studio after a historically long government shutdown, Washington, D.C. now back to business. Late last night, President Trump signing into law the funding bill to end the longest federal government shutdown in the U.S.'s history. The measure, which will fund government operations through at least the end of January, passed through the House earlier Wednesday night. The vote was 222 for, 209 against. U.S. Representative Morgan McGarvey, based here in the Louisville Metro, talked about some of the issues he sees still surrounding the shutdown and the scope of the impact.
I am tired of Congress pretending that there's nothing we can do to fix the broken healthcare system in this country. It was broken before October 1st. People were already paying too much, and we can do something about it. We just need to have people who have the courage to act and the courage to fight for everybody to make sure that their health insurance premiums remain affordable.
And that was the position among congressional Democrats, the issue of healthcare premiums. That was perhaps the leverage they were trying to exercise under the deal. Senate Republicans agreed to allow Democrats a vote in December on a bill of their choice to extend boosted subsidies, which are still set to expire at the end of the month. Coming back here into the studio, Governor Andy Beshear also announced that the federal government had given the state guidance on how to restore SNAP benefits to nearly 600,000 Kentuckians. The governor did not have details, though, on how or when this is actually going to happen. And trying to set up a video here. Oh, this is what I was trying to set up. Okay. Coming back here. So this is what our David Mattingly spent some time talking to SNAP recipients today and the people who are trying to help them, trying to get to a quick end to these disruptions. The shutdown left a lot of people not knowing when, if, or how much of their SNAP benefits would be delivered. For many describing to us today in the reporting, they say they still don't know. And some saying the governor's words provided some hope, but when SNAP payments were cut off, countless households had to ask for help from charitable groups, and that's going to continue until the payments resume. Today, we stopped by the kitchens at Feed Louisville, still running, as they describe it, at full speed, turning out about 1,100 meals a day while donations are still coming in.
It's kind of phenomenal how folks have really just come together, because we put out a few more social media posts and told folks it's not over yet, please keep it coming. And they have. We've been taking in close to 500 to 700 pounds worth of donations just off of that SNAP drive list each day since we started this.
The governor said the federal government is, in general, moving to restore SNAP without offering any timeline, though. He says the state itself will move as quickly as possible. And so here we stand, not too many hours removed after the longest shutdown was over, a bitter 43-day standoff in Congress over the country's spending priorities. But even as the government reopens, things elsewhere, even beyond just the SNAP payment conversation, will not quickly return to normal, at least not yet. Reporter Ivan Rodriguez is looking at the latest of all the different kinds of impacts and restarts.
The U.S. government is finally back open, but the fallout continues.
It costs about $15 billion a week, and it accumulates to maybe 1.5% of GDP.
While there's relief for travelers,
I am happy that it'll get back to some kind of normalcy.
Flight delays and cancellations are expected to linger as air traffic control facilities staff back up. Thursday, nearly 1,000 flights were canceled due to those staffing issues, FAA mandated cuts to keep the airspace safe, and unrelated reasons. It remains unclear when regular operations will resume.
It's going to take a long time. The problem is that the cascading effect that has occurred during the government shutdown is going to just kind of build on top of itself.
Across federal agencies, the hundreds of thousands of furloughed workers will have to address a more than 6-week backlog of work, from food safety inspections to NASA operations to tax refunds. Federal workers say it takes time to get things back up and running. And the battle on Capitol Hill still isn't over. There are no guarantees Congress will extend the healthcare subsidies set to expire at the end of the year, something demanded by Democrats as Affordable Care Act enrollees brace for premium increases.
It went from $400 that we're paying right now to $1,975 for the same policy.
The legislation also only funds most of the government through January, which means in less than 3 months, the government could close its doors again. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Hope you stay with us as we have much more Wave News Extra to get to in this hour, including a bit of a preview to our report tonight on Wave News at 11. It's looking into this $36 million investment, this project trying to build more affordable apartments and some retail space in the proximity of downtown Louisville, actually in the Portland neighborhood. And so getting some perspective from business owners, renters already running and trying to create that sense of revitalized community in that part of town. And just to get their perspectives, understanding the context of what this new apartment project is going to look like. Much more to get into beyond that, by the way, as well. So we're going to be right back after this commercial break for more Wave News Extra. Welcome back in, everyone, to tonight's edition of Wave News Extra. As I was mentioning before we headed to break, wanted to share with you a bit of a preview on our report we're working tonight with our reporter, Julie Richardson. The context being that this week we kind of got some copies of some early renderings, if you've heard, of a nearly $36 million project being titled Liminal Louisville. The goal is to transform a historic warehouse in the Portland neighborhood into a mixed-use developments. By no means, equal split, but more so about 140 apartments and some space for shops and retail. We, on top of talking to the Louisville Downtown Partnership, which you're going to hear Julia's reporting tonight, talking about what goes into applying for specific loans, how that money is going to benefit the overall project to get that going and meet the timeline by around 2027. The end game of setting more affordable renting rates for a lot of apartment tenants. And to that point, Julia also talked to a couple, business owners, building up their own footprint in that part of the community in Portland. One of them being the executive director of Louisville Visual Art, Angela Hagan, talking perhaps about how she feels knowing that this project is going to play out over the next couple of years. And then the director of operations at Portal, an art portal there in the Portland neighborhood, Tiernan McClanahan, and just getting their sense of how they see movement, traffic already coming back into the community and what this might bring for them in the short and the long term. So we'll play a bit of Julia's conversations with these two ladies right here.
We're proud to be here in Portland, and we see ourselves as part of, the development that's happening here. We're building out our space. We added this sculpture in our building last year. We dedicated it this past winter. We want to literally be a spark, like our spark, for the great things that are happening here. People, art brings people to communities. If you think about like Soho in New York, those kinds of places, but more people here, a more walkable neighborhood. And when people are moving in, we've got a few houses nearby, but with apartments, that brings in a different mix of people and energy. I imagine it'll bring in amenities like coffee shops, which we'd all love to be able to walk toward, local businesses. I think we'll all thrive together.
And I know you said you've only been here a year, but in that year, have you seen more activity, or have you started to see more, I don't know, like what the timeline for some of these?
Sure. Well, we've been, just in the year that I've been here with LVA, we've been working on trying to improve our neighborhood and our property and partnering with neighbors to add in some murals like across the street, partnering with our neighborhood nonprofits and businesses like FMS down the street. And we've been really excited to see this development. Anything where we're improving the physical infrastructure and the amenities around the neighborhood makes it safer and more inviting for all.
So the first development and the first stage of those apartments were open, honestly, I think around this time last year. So it's an old paint warehouse. And so I believe it's 4 buildings in the old paint warehouse, and a moving and storage facility has half of them. Then the other half is what's being developed. So I actually went and toured those apartments around this time last year, and they were, so that's been around, and I know that building filled up pretty quickly. So I think that the second building that they're going to be opening, they also have retail on the first floor and everything. So I think that they're also really excited to have more people down here. Since that first opening, we personally have seen people who are young, like literally dancers and makeup artists and musicians who all live down here, who are thrilled to know that they have an event space and an art gallery down the street. We're thrilled about it. Also, the table is down the street. So we have a local restaurant that's going to have more mouths to feed. So we're pretty excited.
Look forward to Julia's report tonight at 11. Hope you join us. More updates. Governor Beshear talking today at his Team Kentucky update that there's an investment to create 100 new full-time jobs at the Ford plant on Chamberlain Lane. Governor Beshear saying this is following, for the company at least, some strong customer demand for the F-250 and the F-Series Super Duty trucks. Here's a little bit more about what he had to say as far as the short and mid and long-term effects of this update.
In the beginning, we thought these might be temporary jobs. We are now told that they will be permanent, full-time jobs, meaning more of our families will have access to the great job that helps them put food on the table.
And to that end, this new investment would help Ford produce more than 5,000 more trucks, it says, each year. Moving on to this story where we've learned another man has learned how long he's going to be in prison behind bars after last year's deadly Harvest Homecoming shooting. Thankfully, the scene around this tradition this time this year, much more peaceful for everyone to have enjoyed. If you remember back when this particular case of tragedy struck, it was with what happened with 18-year-old Bryce Gerlach. He was killed when there was gunfire involved. 2 more people were hurt. Well, our Wave News reporter Logan Perrone sat in on a hearing this afternoon and see if we can put you back in the place where all this was happening. This is the name that Logan was there for this particular case, was against Shermichael Smith back in a Floyd County courtroom today. He's now the 12th person sentenced in the investigation. And, beyond just what happened where Bryce Gerlach was killed, 2 more hurt, but again, all innocent bystanders. A Floyd County judge accepted a plea agreement for Smith, giving him 9 years and 7 suspended. We at Wave News learned Smith pleaded guilty to providing a car to get from Louisville to the area where the crime happened. Smith's defense attorney tells us he never fired any shots that night. We also asked the county prosecutor just how impactful the defendant's roles have been in determining their respective sentences.
In each of these, we tailor the pleas to what the law says and comports it to that, and try to make it equivalent to whatever the facts and the law come out to, and to protect the public.
As part of the plea deal, Smith is required to testify in any cases relating to the shooting. One final defendant's name, Isaiah Page, is scheduled to be in court sometime. His trial currently scheduled to start January 26th. Lane, as far as for Floyd County prosecutor Chris Lane, declining to discuss whether Page is also looking to take a plea deal relating to what happened with the shooting at Harvest Homecoming the year prior. In a story I want to share with you, perhaps you've been following some headlines with, let's say, playful phrasing in your push alerts into your phone or just as you're scrolling through your feeds, but discussing the end of the penny as far as currency is concerned. The last penny was struck by the U.S. Mint just yesterday. How the end of the penny will affect everyday Americans remains to be seen. From the perhaps more serious stories we'll uncover to, in the case of collectors, who reporter Faith Delp, we're about to share with you, talked to one such collector in Alabama about the marking the end of the penny's production. So we'll share Faith Delp's story with you.
Jack Burwell collected his first penny when he was 9 years old, and he fell in love with the thrill of the search.
A lot of happiness come from filling the little holes in the set.
He values a historical penny, but he's not jumping over hurdles for a 2025 penny. He told me he agrees with the end of penny production if it can save the government millions. Right now, the White House says it is costing the government more to produce a penny than the value of the coin.
The pace of change is faster now than it was, 100 years ago. Things are going to change, and if the government can save some money, we need to do it. We'll do okay with the nickels.
I spoke to a local business owner who finds change to be a hassle in her wallet, and her customers tend to be on the same page. Kimberly Walker founded Walker's Market almost 10 years ago. She has customers constantly tell her, keep the penny, or I don't want the penny, and she doesn't blame them.
I mean, I like pennies, but I don't really want a bunch of pennies in my wallet either. All the years of me being in business, a lot of people just say, I don't want my penny. So it's sad and good all at the same time. I do think it's sad that we're moving into a direction where we're getting rid of the sweet little penny, but that is what it is.
Now she plans to round to the nearest nickel when need be. The U.S. expects to save about $56 million a year now without penny production. Reporting in Huntsville, Faith Delp, 48 News, on your side.
And so you see just perhaps the perspective, how it will extend not just here to the metro and to Southern Indiana, Wave Country, and beyond. It's really, for a lot of people, we'll be hearing these stories about adjusting to no more new pennies to interchange, as it were. More stories to share with you coming up after the break here on Wave News Extra. A lot of it branching into other parts of the Commonwealth. A little bit of let's call it a meeting of the sports stars for a different reason, let's say, just to welcome in a brand new business closer to our neck of the woods between the Cards and the Cats basketball team and the players, and a new troubleshooters investigation into folks' complaints, hoping to have enjoyed their own very tailored bourbon tours across, the very iconic sites here in Kentucky. But our troubleshooters team looking into troubled history for the company that promised these deals and these guided tours, but ultimately never delivered. So we're going to have that for you when we come back after the break here on Wave News Extra. Stay with us. Welcome back to Wave News Extra, an update for you tonight on a story we've been following quite closely a little further out east to us. It's the story of a Central Kentucky family who had to take their baby girl to the hospital in Lexington at UK Hospital because she came down with a case of infant botulism. Well, her family has now filed a federal lawsuit against the makers of the formula after their baby did contract this infant botulism from ingesting this batch of the formula. The mom involved, Hannah Everett of Richmond, says her 4-month-old Piper was constipated, not eating, seeming sick overall. But once a friend told Everett about the recall, Everett said that she rushed Piper to the ER. After 5 days in the hospital, she was released, but is still going to have to undergo feeding and speech therapy. The lawsuit, we've now learned since, says the Everett family wants to hold By Heart responsible for producing contaminated formula, and that the family is asking for financial compensation to cover Piper's hospital bills and any other damages. You're seeing here a list of the potential symptoms that doctors have explained could surface if it's potentially a case of having ingested anything that would then lead to infant botulism. So you're seeing what the potential risks are there. And you can always follow along in our reporting that we'll share an update on wave3.com. For any fans of IKEA, getting close to a store won't take you more than a 2-hour drive soon. IKEA and the company says it plans to open a new store in Florence in northern Kentucky. Beyond that, the previous closest one was going to be in Cincinnati. But this is what the companies call it's going to be a plan and order point with pickup. So essentially, you can buy home furnishings, plan new design projects, and then arrange for a home delivery or a pickup at a later time. Same-day pickup at this particular store would not be available. The new IKEA store would be on Mall Road across the Florence Mall, and it is set to open next spring. Well, these are two players who just faced off on the court against one another, and with these rival teams representing, they're going to join forces for one big event in particular. It's for Dick's Sporting Goods opening its new next generation store tomorrow at the Jefferson Town Center in Jeffersonville. Otega Owe from UK Michael Brown Jr. from U of L are going to be guests at the grand opening weekend. The players are signing autographs, taking pictures with fans. Oweh will be there Saturday evening. Brown will be there Sunday afternoon. So split days, depending if you're a Cats fan or a Cards fan, to come visit this particular store opening, which the Dick's at this location says it's also handing out 250 wristbands to meet each player on a first-come, first-served basis. For more information, you can click on this particular story on our website. In the vein of all things Kentucky and bourbon, the conversation there, Buffalo Trace is revealing its new tasting experience that the company says would allow someone to sip their signature bourbon among wild buffalo. So this is the concept art called Perfectly Untamed. What they're describing is a bourbon tasting experience set deep in the plains of Wyoming, which is home to, as you could see, the roaming wild buffalo. You'd be in the middle of the landscape, and you would do it all inside a floor-to-ceiling glass-walled tasting room. The experience would be limited to 6 reservations for 2 guests. The 2-hour tastings would also include curated cocktails, made right there at the fully private bar inside this makeshift room. The tasting would take place in the spring of next year. There is more information on our website explaining what the process would be if you want to register and see how that all will go. And hopefully not too intimidating when considering if you're face-to-face with wild buffalo, if that at all would change your taste buds and how you're trying to enjoy the particular moment there. Now, in the vein of bourbon and the draw that it continues to bring, such a staple product export of Kentucky, a vacation rental company caught up in bankruptcy started a Kentucky bourbon tour as a way to pay its debts. So as a way to kind of drive a little bit of that revenue it might have been desperately needing. But after some initial success, customers came to the Wave News troubleshooters to complain that their bookings are being canceled at the last minute. Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens found the company's federal operating status was actually put out of service months ago. The name might be familiar to some of you if you've not already seen Mark's investigative piece, but the brand Bourbon Express, it is an offshoot of a company called The Farm. The Farm has been going through a difficult bankruptcy, making news when weddings at venues it was renting ran into some problems of their own. But now the Bourbon Tour is running into its own set of problems. This is Mark's report.
Steve Patton had booked a bourbon outing for 14 people celebrating some big birthdays.
It was for my wife's 50th, another woman's 50th, and one of our friends, his 50th too.
Andrew Krozik had a surprise trip booked for his wife's 30th birthday.
I couldn't talk to her about it. That was the worst part. And I was texting her friends and whatnot. Obviously her best friend met us down there.
Both got the same email ahead of their trips.
Almost like an attorney wrote it for him or AI or something.
Dear valued guest, we write you in order to inform you that due to various circumstances, including an ongoing family health emergency and motor carrier licensing developments, we are unable to service the tour you booked with us this month. We have canceled the tour booking.
That's very difficult. That's why most couldn't do it. When they heard 14, they're thinking, yeah, the money would be great, but we can't even book you.
I thought I was doing a good job planning it out a month in advance, and it was just the craziest part was when I called Jessica over at Bourbon Express. She's like, "You're my 5th phone call today." And I was like, my heart sank.
Tim Hagan with Kentucky Bourbon Boys says their phone has been ringing off the hook with customers scrambling to rebook their trips.
There have been days recently where 4 different people have called us on the same day with the same story. And Monday we had 2 first thing. As soon as the phones went live, 2 calls asking for help.
They've been able to help some customers, but not all. October is peak bourbon tour season, with people coming in for college football, good weather, and fall colors.
We're getting a lot of calls with short notice cancellations and asking us to help. And they've got flight reservations and hotels set up and dinners and large groups.
Bourbon Express's email told Steve and Andrew to try and get their money back from their credit card company. Andrew is waiting.
Actually called and followed up with a credit card, and it's still in there and active.
Patton is actually a retired cop. He filed a report with his local police, and he put his own pressure on the company.
I kind of said the FBI is going to be calling them soon or getting hold of them soon.
Court records show the company had high hopes offering bourbon and horse tours. Its lawyer told the bankruptcy judge it could bring in $1.7 million if its 3 vans ran just over half full. But on August 20th, The feds put the company out of service for failing a safety audit. While the shutdown has prevented Wave from getting detailed records, the federal website shows the company has no insurance currently, and its prior policies had been canceled. Bourbon Express did not return Wave's phone calls or emails. Its bankruptcy lawyer recently quit after telling the judge at the beginning of October the law firm was owed $200,000. Bankruptcy records also show the company is behind on loan payments for one of its vans. Bourbon Express is still taking bookings.
All right, thanks to Mark for that report. And one of the men you heard from, his name's Mr. Patton, told Mark he did get a full refund directly from Bourbon Express, so exerting some pressure there. Hagen, with the other company, suggests checking any tour operators' online reviews as a good gauge, a barometer for their reliability and customer service. Bourbon Express are starting to fill up with people upset over their last-minute cancellations. And certainly with an investigation like this, should anything new develop, we'll make sure to share that with you. Always glad to share what the Wave News troubleshooters are working on here in the live stream, online, and as we report all of that in our different newscasts. We're going to have one more report in the season where we've been discussing signing up for healthcare plans. Our Don G is going to walk us through open enrollment. So you hope you'll stay with us for one more story as we come back from this short break here on Wave News Extra. Welcome back, everyone. Appreciate you sticking with us as we round out tonight's edition of Wave News Extra. As always, appreciate you joining us to connect, whether that's through our different channels for streaming, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Always great to check in with you all. And the same for our Wave Now folks from your Apple devices there, your Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, as we get all this content and the stories, our reports, investigative documentaries, everything there for you to check in on. And this is another venue, of course, to unpack and unwind the big stories of the day. A story with a conversation many of you might have already had with loved ones, with the spouse, with the kids. If you're thinking about the open healthcare market for open enrollment, selecting a health insurance plan, it can feel coming into it confusing, complicated, sometimes a little scary. It is one of the more important things to do for your own well-being and your families. Industry surveys find many of us will admit sometimes we don't fully understand choices when the time comes to select the coverage options that are available. Just like everything else, health insurance expenses are expected to skyrocket, and you've been following with us as we're trying to share this information. relating to what the subsidies are, negotiations at a political level, at a federal and a state level as well. So Wave News anchor Dawn G had a chance to talk to, in this case for her piece tonight, a legal expert from one of the nation's leading healthcare cost containment firms. And they discussed some important information about the process, but also your choices. Understanding the goal is to help you make ends meet, as is her franchise. So this is Dawn's report tonight talking about open enrollment.
So when it comes to open enrollment, I like to say it's like shopping for a new car and not knowing what a car is.
Ron Peck is the chief legal officer for the FIA Group, an innovative cost containment leader in the health insurance industry.
Kind of feels like you're being dropped off on a desert island and being asked to find your way home.
Making an informed choice on your health care during open enrollment is crucial, not only to your well-being, but also to helping you make ends meet.
Because this is a decision that's very important and very meaningful and could have a major impact on your life.
Signing up for health insurance, adjusting your selections, or canceling your plan altogether must be done during the open enrollment window. Know the timeline and then take time to discover what's best for you and those on your policy.
You need to understand the difference between health insurance and the network. Health insurance is what pays the medical bills. That's who pays. The network is the one that negotiates the payable rate.
In-network providers have already agreed to your provider's negotiated rate. In-network will generally cost less. Health providers out of network do not have a contract with your provider and can charge their rate, which is generally higher out-of-pocket fees for the patient. Your prescriptions also have negotiated prices. However, there are discount cards, mail order, and low-price pharmacies that can be helpful.
That the cost of the actual care, the surgeries, the doctor's visits, the drugs, the medical devices are going up, up, up.
That means the cost of your health insurance plan is more than likely rising too. Do your best to control what you can.
When you get those EOBs, explanations of benefits, in the mail, and you open the envelope and you look at it, across the top, it always has in big letters, "This is not a bill."
Do not throw it away. It may not be a bill, but it could cost you in the long run if there are services listed in those benefits that you never received but were charged to your insurance carrier.
And the more your plan spends, or the more your insurance spends on healthcare, right or wrong, that's going to result in higher premiums next year to make it up.
So in that conversation Dawn had with Ron Peck, some things to remember. These are tips that they also discussed. If you feel uncomfortable or confused, talk to your bosses, your company, your employer. Perhaps someone in the human resources office can navigate you through the options. The next one being to know the deadline for your company's open enrollment. Do not miss it. At the same token, Dawn said it at the very top. Don't rush. Take your time. If you're unsure about any of your choices or options, don't be afraid to ask those pertinent questions. And also, don't assume that your plan is going to stay the exact same. You may have to go into enrollment and click an option to keep what you currently have. So just make sure you toggle it to make sure that you're not losing what you're already, paying into for the current benefits year. A reminder that you can find not just Dawn's story, but so much more that we update to the minute as we can. The Wave News digital team does on wave3.com. And so Dawn's story is living right here on the homepage, and so much more of our own original reporting and the stories that we're sharing with you that have an impact on your lives. And as we move about our day-to-day here in here in the Louisville Metro and Wave Country and across Kentucky and Southern Indiana. I'm going to wrap things up, folks. It is 8:48. Appreciate you spending some time here with us in the Wave Now studio, and hope you join us tonight for Wave News at 11, since we'll have original reporting. You saw a bit of a tease of that in the middle part of the hour with our Julia Richardson, what's going to go into this new apartment project, as it were, in the Portland neighborhood from our Meredith Lee. An update from Metro Council, of course, on so many agenda items for ordinances, proposals. The one she's focusing on is what she brought as her original report last night, regarding new regulations for massage parlors, trying one to crack down on illegal ones that prosecutors have explained, do engage in human trafficking. But the pushback that Meredith learned from some already licensed therapists and saying that the restrictions or the regulations that were being debated tonight were perhaps too vague, not necessarily reflective of codes of conduct or checking in with state licensing boards in that regard. So we'll certainly catch up on what the decision is there, and checking in with the storm tracking team, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned, letting us know how it's going to feel as we round out our week here in mid-November. I'm Jose Sosaya. Always appreciate you folks spending some time with us here on Wave News Extra. A heads up, since I believe this is Thursday, there's going to be TDFN tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of college football action to discuss, but no Wave News Extra for tomorrow. So we will be back next week on Monday just to help cover some other newscasts that we do have to make sure we are able to share that with you through those presentations, through those shows as well. So appreciate your time, folks. We'll see you back here in the Wave Now studio next week. Until then, take care.